Good evening. Today is Monday, October 11th, 2021, and this regular meeting of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education is called to order at 6:10 p.m. Due to the state of emergency that is still declared in Wayne County, some board members may be joining us remotely. During the roll call, please state your location. Madam Secretary.
Terrell. Kennard. Here. Wester. Present. German.
Present, Wayne County.
Bergeron. Here. Piles.
Present.
Evans. Present. German.
Present, Wayne County.
Mr. Clark, are you able to hear? And Ms. German, are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear you, Madam President.
Okay, I'm doing roll call. You're present where?
Wayne County.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as presented. Is there support? Support. Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary.
Madam President. Madam President.
If I might please, before we vote, I'd like to ask if there are any agenda items, resolutions, or motions that have been distributed that every board member does not have.
No.
One other question as it relates to this possible action item, whether or not this is relative to an employee of the district and whether or not the employee has been offered the opportunity of a closed session before this presentation is given.
It is not a personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Secretary.
Kennard. Yes. Bergeron.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes.
German.
Yes.
Terrell. Yes. Wester. Evans, yes.
Motion carries. Next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion? All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Approval. To approve the minutes of the Board of Education, August 2nd, special meeting, August 5th, special meeting, August 10th, regular meeting, August 10th, closed session, August 25th, special meeting, September 20th, special meeting, September 27th, regular meeting. Approval. To approve the bills for payment as submitted by Business Office Consultant Sandy Gutenschwager in the amount of $1,328,101.42. Then the approval of personnel actions submitted by Interim Superintendent Sean McNatt. Employment, Herbert Buckley II, District Technology Support Specialist, contingent upon screening completion with a start date to be determined. John Harris, teacher at Romulus Middle School, effective 9/14/21. Ryan Kenderzierski, adult education teacher, effective September 14th, 21. Angela Singleton, paraprofessional at Barth Elementary, effective September 23rd, 21, and Anna Tremblay, paraprofessional at Barth, effective September 23rd, 21, and the resignation of Stephen Baker Jr., District Accountant, effective September 29th, 2021. I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as amended to remove the minutes of September 20th.
I have another motion in terms of minutes. So we need to bring a bunch of them out to review. August 2nd, the 10th, the 25th, and September 27th.
Okay, so I will.
August 5th. Did you say August 5th?
What I will do is I will move that the consent agenda, that we accept the consent agenda with the removal of all of the minutes.
Thank you.
Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Terrell. Kennard. Lester. Bergeron. German.
Yes.
Evans, yes. Piles.
Thank you. I move that the Board of Education convene in closed session under Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider an attorney-client privilege matter. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Ma'am, there is one. Madam Secretary? Yes. I apologize. Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't see where's the public comment? On the, okay, I apologize for missing that. Madam Secretary, are there public comments related to the agenda? And while you pull those, I will read the guidelines for audience participation. How many do we have? The Board of Education welcomes audience participation at its meetings. These guidelines, which are based on the Board of Education bylaws and policies, are intended to facilitate the orderly conduct of the audience participation portion of the Board of Education meetings. Persons wishing to address the Board of Education must complete an audience participation form and submit it to the board's president before the meeting starts. Forms may be accepted after the meeting starts. The board's secretary will recognize speakers. Speakers must limit their comments to 3 minutes or less unless, due to the number of persons desiring to address the board's president limits comments to 2 minutes or less. Speakers may not defer any part of their time to others. Speakers must identify themselves by name and observe the rules of common courtesy. Personal attacks on board members and district employees will not be tolerated. Board members and district employees may request the board entertain complaints against them in closed session. The Board of Education does not debate audience participation items, and the Board of Education reserves the right to take any action permitted by law to ensure order at its meetings, including the expulsion of disorderly persons. Madam Secretary.
Carol Bales.
Carol Bales, 38799 Barth Road, Romulus, Michigan. Respectfully, Board, if I may, I would like to respectfully request that I be able to reserve the right to speak following items 6B, 7B, C, D, 8A, and 13, communications from the public, because I really don't know what's going to be presented, and if I wanted to ask a question, I'd like to be able to have that right. Is that okay? I don't know what to ask now without seeing a presentation. Thank you. I wrote them all down.
4, 6B, 6C, 7B, C, D, 8A.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Mr. Bergeron,
It's pretty strange being on a board and have to come up and give a talk as the public, but that's okay. Name is Noah Pete Bergeron. I've been a resident of Romulus for 70 years. I went to Beverly Elementary, Romulus Junior High, Romulus High School. Okay, I live here. I brought my children up in this community. This is the first time that I can tell that a school board is messing up this community. First of all, I believe this board was in violation of the Open Meeting Act 2 weeks ago. Okay, and by doing that, to have a vote, you have to be on that screen. Okay, and people were answering the phone on a cell phone. That is not, I want a legal opinion from our law firm. Okay, I want a legal opinion because I have one on the contrary. And if that's the case and they lie for you, they're going to pay for it. Okay, second of all, Mr. President, you had a meeting the next day with Dixon and someone else for 4 hours, private meeting. You're just the president of the board. You're not the board. You're not the community. You know, I want an answer what that was all about. Next item that I have on here was that Mr. Dixon was here, you know, a couple weeks ago and he gave a presentation. If you don't have it written down in a presentation on the board, you know, you can just keep your information because that's just information that is maybe not true, maybe is true. But if I see it on paper, then I'll believe it's true. And then the last thing, a month ago, Ms. Evans went to Ms. Piles and said, if we don't have it in writing the week before, you shouldn't bring it to the board. What did you do? You put together a whole motion that night and shoved it down our throats without us even looking at it. Now, how can you go flip from one to another? I don't understand that. But I do understand that if we're in violation, all that stuff you guys did 2 weeks ago is null and void, and we need to start over.
Hanson,
Good evening. Once again, I'm Michael Hansen. I'm currently serving as Secretary Treasurer of the Romulus Education Association. Once again, this is my 23rd year here for our Romulus Community Schools. Tonight, I have several questions about agenda items that were posted in the school district's website. First, I want to quote the Open Meetings Act about the approval of minutes. You guys seem to pick and choose which parts you want to read. This information, for those people in the public, that if you need to see it, it's on page 15 of the handbook. It says, when must the minutes be available? Proposed minutes must be made available for public inspection within 8 days after the applicable meeting. Approved minutes must be made available for public inspection within 5 days after the public body's approval. Ms. Evans, you are in violation of the Open Meeting Act in several areas. First, posting the minutes on Friday evening does not give us the 5 days required under Open Meetings Act. A second violation is the fact that tonight you are having a board approve minutes from 6 separate dates. According to the Open Meetings Act, they were supposed to be approved 8 days after the meeting minutes were for. I know At September 13th board meeting, you used the excuse of having COVID for not having them posted.
Yeah, you can't make personal statements like that.
She did. She said to me she had COVID. That's why she could not do the minutes.
Okay, but she was ill. You cannot put her information out there.
She was so ill that she
Mr.
attended the
Hanson?
meeting and she voted. That is not, those are facts. That's not a personal attack.
She is ill. You cannot state her personal business.
I'm sorry.
She was ill, and she joined remotely. You cannot state her
Okay,
personal
once
business.
again, I'm going to remind you, Ms. President, when I'm ill, I call in a substitute, and I'm not responsible for the work. When she was ill, she should have called in, she should not have voted,
Okay,
and
no.
no, you guys aren't supposed to respond to me.
No, but what you're saying is not true.
I'm not out of order. It is true.
Okay.
Okay, I need to be removed from the meeting? When did you become president? Can I finish my speech?
You have 20 seconds.
I just spent 3 minutes arguing with
You have
you.
20 seconds. Please
Okay,
do not
you know
state
what?
personal information.
I will put this on Facebook then,
Okay.
okay? During the time you reported you were ill, you picked and chose when that illness affected your ability to do the work. You did
Time.
not finish any of the minutes. You have 6 minutes that
Time.
you're trying to approve today. That's against open meetings back.
Time, Mr. Hanson.
Does somebody want to read my?
No, that was, I read that in the beginning. You
Because
can't-
arguing with you about
You
her
can-
having
you can-
COVID,
you
she
can
told me
speak.
she had
You
COVID.
can speak again.
She did it in public.
You can speak again at the end, but you can't transfer.
Yeah, but
them.
I only got 3 minutes. You
Okay.
guys have all night. You guys filibuster
Mr.
all night
Hanson,
long.
no, Mr. Hanson, please go to the next person.
By the way, did people get fingerprinted when you hired them? And besides that, she needs to show her face when she votes because we don't know who's on there. We're just now seeing Ms. Kennard. We haven't seen her in a
Okay,
month.
okay, okay. Okay. Ms. Abbott.
That's it for the agenda items. The rest are public comments.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay. Just to, excuse me, piggyback off of Pete Bergeron, I've asked a couple questions 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, September 28th, I sent an email. I'm going to read this email. It says, good evening, Debbie. It was voted on 4-3 to put Dr. Edmondson on paid administrative leave and to have an independent audit investigation of the finances. It was brought to my attention that you were at the board office in closed-door meeting with Mike Dixon and another gentleman for several hours. I can only imagine that other gentleman is from Clark Hill, who is supposed to be handling the audit. I have a few concerns that need to be addressed and noted. This audit/investigation must be completely transparent, not a Debbie Pyle show. A, this must be independent, not working with our current consultant. B, what is the scope of the audit investigation? We as a board need to know the parameters and what they are looking for. 2, we as a collective board should be aware of all things going on. The updates on the investigation should be presented to the entire board at one time to maintain transparency. Since this is an independent audit/investigation, the Finance Committee should be disbanded and reassembled at the conclusion of said investigation. No one should be speaking with the investigator while he or she is doing his or her job. Respectfully, it is an independent audit/investigation. Mike Dixon should not have any contact with him or her. Remember, this is not a dictatorship. It is a board of 7. and you alone cannot make decisions. I stated previously that we are all elected officials and work for those who elected us, which is the RCS district. Like the old folks used to say, actions speak louder than words. And at this moment in time in Romulus Community School District, we are the laughing stock of all school districts. How embarrassing and disheartening for not only our district, but our staff, students, and community. And I still have gotten no response.
At this time, I move that the Board of Education convene in a closed session under Section 8H of the OMA to consider an attorney-client privilege matter. Is there support?
We still have public comments.
Yes,
Those were not agenda items that were turned in. Excuse me. Excuse me, there are two sections for public comment. One is for agenda items, the other is at the end of the meeting for general public comment.
yes, so they're coming. So there's a motion on the floor. Do you support Kennard? Do you support Kennard?
The people who spoke on your minute agenda items that you're trying to pass now. Last week was what happened, and this is what they're talking about. 2 weeks ago. This is what they're talking about. So let us speak, please.
Okay, so the public spoke on agenda items, and there is another section. There is no action item coming out of this. There's a motion on the floor to convene a closed session. Is there support?
Kennard
Moved by
already
Kyle,
supported.
supported by Kennard.
Bergeron? No. Wester? Kennard? German?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes.
Terrell? Evans, yes.
Okay, so motion fails to go into closed session. It requires a 2/3 vote. So the next item on the agenda is a presentation by Mr. John Garrett, an update on the investigation. And this was for the closed session.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, hang on.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. My name is John Garrick from the law firm of Clark Hill. I've been representing public school districts for more than 40 years, and I'm happy to say that my grandfather owned a small farm in Romulus many years ago, and I actually did work for the Romulus Public Schools during the 80s. Following the board's motion appointing us for an independent investigation, I met with the following day with Interim Superintendent Sean McNatt, Board President Debbie Piles, Mike Dixon of Dixon Consulting, and I've had several conversations with Anya Lusk of Miller Johnson. Everyone's been very cooperative. We've reviewed many documents from the district in terms of their business practices and documents, viewed board policies and regulations. We currently are investigating 21 situations where competitive bidding may not have been followed in accordance with the law or board policy. We don't know where that's going to lead, but that is what we're in the course of reviewing, and I can send a closed session to the board in terms of identifying what those specific matters are. I was prepared to do that, but obviously we can't do that now. We also have reviewing an IRS tax issue that is problematic, and also a problem with the school loan revolving fund concern that we think Mr. Dixon has addressed. We've also provided some suggestions to Miller Johnson and Raymond in terms of coordinating our efforts with the forensic audit that the board approved on August 10th to look into various matters of the district. Raymond, I can identify, they're going to take the lead on use of credit cards in compliance with board policy. We look, and we can confirm that, in fact, there were some receipts.
Madam
missing.
President,
Yeah.
a point of order. We're speaking about an
State point.
employee of the district which has been put out on paid leave, and anything addressing that matter should not be discussed in open session.
Okay, so we are not discussing, okay, we are not discussing an employee. We are discussing the business
He was
office.
placed out on paid leave
But-
due
okay,
to
but this-
a
okay.
investigation.
Okay, he is not being investigated. No person is being investigated.
He was put out on paid leave. He was put out on paid leave.
Okay.
After it was suggested that
Okay,
there would be an
so
investigation.
we are hearing
By
about
this
our,
firm.
okay, so I will state this. Our auditor has told us that the operating of our business office, if we don't make significant changes, this district will not survive the long term. It won't even survive the short term.
this
So
is
so we cannot know what needs to be changed unless we listen.
This was
Mr.
brought to you by
No,
Dr.
Miss-
E
Miss-
when he
Miss-
came in here
Okay.
last September.
Ms. Webster,
He
you do
brought it
not
to
have the
us.
floor.
I just told you,
Okay.
floor or not,
Motion to recess?
because I spoke the truth.
Motion to recess. Support. Call. Madam Secretary. Motion to recess until orders maintained. Please call the roll. Moved by Piles, supported by Evans.
Kennard. Terrell.
No.
German.
Yes.
Wester. Bergeron. Evans, yes.
Piles, yes. Meeting is in recess. Yep, we can leave. Mr. Garrick, is your mic on?
Yes, it is. Okay. I'll
Okay,
just-
can you just speak into the mic and maybe?
Okay.
Okay.
As I was saying.
Hang on 1 minute, we have to, are we on?
Okay.
Okay, motion to reconvene.
Support.
Moved by Piles, supported by Evans. Roll call.
Wester. Terrell.
I don't understand why we're going back into, because you're continuing with the firm that I asked about before you tried to go into recess. Why are we going back into session when we were told, it hasn't been shared why this gentleman is speaking. I don't understand why he's speaking when it was said at the last meeting that this is the firm that's doing the independent investigation. It seems that you're trying to indicate that it's an audit, but again, in conjunction with putting Dr. Edmondson on a paid leave, this firm was mentioned. That is the problem. How can we go forward with this and him speaking of what's going on financially when Dr. Edmondson was put out on paid leave to do an independent investigation and we don't have a clue to what that is?
We had an option for a closed meeting, and we can revisit that, but right now there's a motion to go back into session, into open session. And if you would like us to reconsider the closed meeting, we can do that. But right now, there's a
Saying that we
motion
didn't want to go into a
open
closed session has nothing to do with this
Okay.
presentation.
So right now, yes or no, go back into open session.
No.
Keep calling.
Wester? Terrell? Thank you. Kennard? Bergeron? No. German?
Yes.
Piles?
Yes,
Evans, yes.
we're back in session at 6:42. Go ahead, Mr. Garrett.
Okay, so as I was saying, the Raymond firm is investigating compliance with credit card policy, and that's something that they're taking responsibility for that. And I've previously identified, we're looking at 21 situations where it looks like competitive bidding was not appropriately done. In terms of the independent investigation, our investigation is independent of the administration telling us what to do. We are getting the information from the documents that speak for themselves, from the various persons working on behalf of the district, and we're reviewing that, and that's the independence that we're talking about. It's independent of the current administration. We look forward to completing our review in a timely fashion, expeditiously as we can, with the cooperation of everybody working on behalf of the district, and look forward to reporting back to the board very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Next, we are at the report of the superintendent. So, Sean, Mr. McNatt.
Interim superintendent.
Hello, I have some information for you. It's regarding the events of the week for the high school. They have been emailed to you. It has to do with a lot with athletics.
Madam President, the minutes, that's supposed to be the first thing that we address under the superintendent's report. That's right. The minutes.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Okay, so, Ms. Wester, you had removed minutes, and I had removed minutes. I'll yield the floor to you.
Looking at the minutes, when we're attending virtually and they're supposed to say where they are, it's not noted in the minutes, because that's supposed to be noted in the minutes as well. On the 2nd, the 10th, the 25th, and the 27th. On the 2nd, myself, I should be down as excused. I think on the 25th, there was no time for Ms. Kennard showing up. It doesn't even show in terms of roll call that our superintendent and the HR and special services were in attendance to the meeting. When we look at comments by the board, it's just names put there, no meat as to what was discussed. There's also 2 sets of minutes that are still missing. August 23rd, which was the meeting where Dr. E had a write-up or something, so there's nothing documented here for this. And then September the 13th is missing. Let's see. Also, under September the 10th, when you look at the report of the superintendent, it just stated that there was a FYI on the golf tournament, whereas there's never been a soup report that's that short. It's usually long and filled with a bunch of facts. Because in terms of the venue for the pay, it should have been in there. He said we made approximately $20,000, but still had to pay venue, food, which consists of lunch and dinner. We had to pay for the signs, the banners, and also for Mr. Dennis Davison for his assistant with pulling that outing together. So as of right now, I think that's pretty much all I saw with that, but that's enough to get corrected.
I had an issue,
So-
Madam President.
I'm sorry, so the minutes for August 23rd were emailed on Monday, September 27th. I don't know why they are not in here,
We never received them.
but, right,
Try to research it, it's not there.
Yeah.
so the process is that, first of all, we did not know that minutes were not being taken. When Ms. Evans was joining us virtually, she did not know that Ms. Gutzman was not here. And no one communicated with her that she wouldn't be here taking minutes. So that's why the minutes weren't done. And then she went through her notes, and we got these typed up, and those were submitted on the 27th. I cannot say why they're not included in this packet, but they were done.
I have a comment concerning the August 5th minutes.
Okay, please, order.
The August 5th minutes, myself, Ursula Wester, and Pete Bergeron were not in attendance. These minutes have been included in this packet 60 days after it took place. There's no YouTube video. There is nothing that advises what happened until receiving this packet on Friday. And there were actions and motions taken, and according to the Open Meetings Act, you've initiated, first of all, the Finance Committee meeting with Dixon. That was something that took place. Those actions, because it's in violation of the Open Meetings Act, should be null and void. The Dixon firm was hired at that meeting. It's 60 days later, and then this shows up with all of this information, and no one knew it, including our superintendent, Dr. Edmondson. There's no record of it. And then all of a sudden, it
Record
shows
of
up
what?
in these meeting minutes for August the 5th, 60 days later, when there's an 8-day guideline as to when those meeting minutes should be available. And if they're brought back, there's 5 days following that. And so there's a lot of action items that took place. It should have been, as far as transparency is concerned, we should have received those minutes, been able to review those minutes, so that even the last meeting, we would have been able to address it. And again, there's some information about meeting with the subcommittees meeting. We don't receive the minute notations from the subcommittee meetings we're completely kept out of the dark, in the dark. We're not able to know what's going on. And our superintendent is expected to be able to do his job, and actions are being taken that no one is informed of. That meeting was a special meeting. It was called at the last meeting. The 18-hour minimum of notification was made. However, the board was polled, and 3 said we could not be here. Another date was not offered, not the following day, not the second date. And so this was a meeting that took place.
Which date,
Had
Ms.
one of the
Terrell?
4 not been able to attend, had one of the 4 been running late, it would have stopped. You would have allowed them to get here. You would have allowed them another day, because just here a few weeks ago, we had a meeting. 2 people couldn't attend. It was canceled. So you had 3 people that could not attend because we were notified at the last minute.
Which meeting,
No
Ms.
alternative,
Terrell?
August the 5th.
Okay,
An
August 5th?
alternative date was not made
August
available
5th,
to
that
us.
meeting was set in our board meeting on
It was a
July the
special
12th.
meeting.
Yes, and it was set in July.
And we said we weren't.
That meeting
And
was
we
set in
said that
July.
we weren't available. You polled, and I said I'm not available that date. We were never offered an opportunity to attend that at another date. We were polled.
Because it's supposed to be like Wednesday. What,
Okay.
Ms. Piles, I had one more thing with the minutes. From August the 2nd, at adjournment, it said that, it was 7-0 on adjournment. I wasn't here. So it would be 6-0.
Okay, so the minutes are removed, and please forward comments to Ms. Evans and Ms. Gutzman.
I
We
just,
will get those approved.
just being a previous secretary for a whole year, almost, before Ms. Gutzman got here. Yeah, I was the secretary. I took my notes, I typed my own minutes, and they got turned in because the previous admin did not do that.
Okay. Mr. McNatt, we are back to your report. Use your mic.
Ms. Piles, you didn't mention what was wrong with September 20th minutes.
I'm sorry?
You said you were moving September 20th?
Yes, so they're all being removed, and then we send your comments to
I'm just saying
both
you
Ms.
didn't mention what was wrong with them like everyone else usually does.
Well, I can, but I mean, there's inaccurate, a comment that I made that's inaccurate. And just so we know, board minutes are supposed to reflect what is done, not what is said. So to some of those points you spoke at, we don't put all of the details of what was said. The floor is Mr. McNabb's.
No, it's not all the detail, it's just
Yeah,
quick,
that's right.
talked about, boom,
And
not
we-
just
and that's-
Piles or
And that's what
German.
was in there, right. Go ahead, Mr. McNabb.
Okay, I have emailed the board the events for the week. It starts out with there's soccer, volleyball for the next 3 days. And then we have a couple games for each one of those sports. And then on Friday, the 15th, the football game at 7 p.m. It is Teacher Appreciation Night and Alumni Night.
Okay,
So, and then I have visited Wick Elementary as well as the middle school last week, and I hope to get around to the rest of the buildings in the near future. And we are working on, I need to get to you the following postings in the near future, and that is the curriculum director, an accountant, and the HR director, and we need approval on that, and we need to move forward on that. I am constantly in communication with various people regarding trying to see if we can get some short-term help in central office for the position of HR. I have spoken to Dr. Colbert at Wayne Resa, so.
okay, order, please. Thank you, Mr. McNatt. Okay, the first action item that we have under report of the superintendent is employment services agreement for Sandra Pollock, a business office consultant, and that is to work in place temporarily of our accountant who recently resigned. Is there a motion? Order. Mr. Hanson, please. Is there a motion? Yes.
Move that the Board of Education approve the employment services agreement for the services of Sandra Pollock as business office consultant.
I'm sorry.
Rationale, please see agreement for details pursuant to the Board of Education Policy 4001. The budget implications are general fund.
Moved by Evans. Is there support? Supported by Kennard. Are there questions, comments?
Question.
Ms. Wester?
It doesn't have a start date. And has she been through all the processes of fingerprinting and background check?
Do you want to take a question? Okay. Mr. McNatt, do you want to answer?
Yes, she has been fingerprinted and through the process.
Start date.
She has also already started
So we.
last week sometime.
So we started someone without bringing it to the board according to the policy?
Yes. Romulus employees have to be brought to the board if it is a new position. If it is a new position, if there's a salary increase. Today we approved employees who started in September. So employees can start prior to it coming before the board when it's an existing position. The superintendent or interim superintendent has the authority per board policy to hire temporary staff. This is for an accountant. We are in the middle of an audit, and this follows board policy. This is not a permanent employee.
Last year's came to us for approval.
This is not a permanent employee.
I'm just saying, when we brought someone in for the audit last year to help, it came to the board for approval.
No, it came after the fact in the form of approving the invoice.
It came to the board.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. Okay. Any other, Pete, did you have something?
My only question is that we're hiring these interim people. What's the term? Because it seems to me like this is saying farewell to Dr. Edmondson, and we're putting a new regime in, and I don't predict, he should have something to do with his accounting staff and his administration, and I don't know exactly what you're trying to do, but the reason that those people left is because of this board. So, anyway.
So.
I don't know, I'm trying to figure out.
Sure. That's valid. Mr. Bergeron, and I'll respond to that, absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Edmondson will hire the finance department. This is because we're in audit and we don't have an accountant. We haven't even been able to respond to the request provided to the accountant because we don't have general ledgers done. This contract right here, it says that the agreement may be terminated by either party with 10 business days written notice. This is not a permanent employee. This is an accounting position so we can get through our audit. And last year we paid $30,000 for support in this position. Are there any more board member comments or concerns?
I have another one, but I can wait
Yes.
till after the vote.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Madam Secretary?
Wester? Terrell?
No.
Kennard?
Yes, but I have a question. In terms of the term period, we can't anticipate on how long that would be. So until we get through it, do you have any idea how long?
Well, this is to get through our audit or until the
Do you know how
district
long the
hires.
audit, where we are in that stage?
Well, the audit is due, okay. The audit is due November 1st, but the auditor has already expressed that that will not happen because our records and business office are in such disarray.
Okay, so this is temporary.
But this is temporary. Okay. Continue the vote.
German,
Yes.
Bergeron? No. Evans, yes. Piles?
Yes. Motion carries. Next, we have an action item for grants consultant contract services, Marie Miller. Is there a motion?
Move that the Board of Education approve the consulting services agreement for continued services of grants consultant Marie Miller. Agreement to be forwarded to the Board of Education by interim superintendent Sean McNett. Budget implications are general fund.
Moved by Evans. Is there support? Supported by Kennard. Any questions or comments from board members?
Now you can ask your question.
This is another temporary contract position. Any concerns? Yes, she was approved earlier last fall at a rate of $1,500 a day. And now for this, her rate will be $100 an hour. That was established by our superintendent, Dr. Edmondson. She's been with us since fall. We are now paying $100 an hour. She has been fingerprinted. She's been with us since fall. Madam Secretary, please call the vote. I mean, $150 an hour.
Wester?
Yes.
Terrell?
Marie does our stuff.
Terrell? German?
Order.
I didn't even respond yet.
Okay, thank you.
Marie Miller was hired because the audit was in such a disarray last year, and Dr. Edmondson recognized that there was a big issue. We needed help right then and there. She was hired. She is excellent, and I'm voting yes.
German? Bergeron?
Yes.
Kennard? Piles?
Yes.
Evans, yes. German?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
We can't see her face. She's not there.
Next, we have resolution to purchase property, purchase agreement for 35408 Beverly Road. Mr. Clark, I see that you are with us. Did you want to say anything about this purchase? Oh, we can't hear you. Are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, I had an opportunity to review that offer. And yeah, so it's been revised. And it's up to you whether you want to accept the offer. I know that Superintendent Edmondson had tried to negotiate a higher purchase price, but I didn't hear whether that actually materialized or not. So
Okay.
what you have in front of you is the latest offer.
What is this offer?
Let's see here. I believe
It's not filled into the motion.
It's $220,000.
Okay. Okay. So I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution to sell property owned by the district located at 35408 Beverly Road, Romulus, Michigan, to purchaser Sammy ALFASIH for an amount of $220,000. The board authorizes and directs the superintendent to execute the purchase agreement. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Are there any comments or questions from board members?
Madam President, I just want to say that Dr. Edmondson worked tirelessly. He has made a promise to the community and to this district that these properties that have sat vacant for years, that he would get them off of the books. And I am excited that this has come to fruition. He was instrumental in this selling of this property. And that's all I wanted to comment I wanted to make.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell. Are there any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Bergeron? Yes. German?
Yes.
Kennard? Terrell? Lester? Piles?
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have an FYI, Finance and Audit Update by Mr. Mike Dixon with Dixon Public Consulting.
Oh, good evening.
Okay,
Couple
order,
of,
please, Mr. Hanson.
Just a couple of quick notes, and Mr. Garrick alluded to it, to some of these issues in here anyway. First of all, the audit, and you mentioned that earlier, is due on November 1st, 2021. That's the state deadline. We're probably about 60 to 70% sure we can make that November 1st date. Only about 95 to 100 on November 15th, provided we don't get any more big surprises. Last week, we requested an open items list from the auditors, and we're waiting for a response from them. An open items list is what do we owe you as far as the swap back and forth between the auditors. They were working on it this afternoon, and when I left, we hadn't seen that yet. That will really help clarify the timeline once we get that and can get back to you. The bad news is Sandy G just got called to jury duty. If she actually gets selected, hope she's only there for a few days. Mr. Garrick alluded to 941 issues. Those are payroll taxes not being paid. We had a notice from the IRS that we owed over $92,000 in taxes, penalties, and interest. These instances where we didn't file for several pay periods, and in several more instances where we were late filing and or didn't file accurately. We have more notices to come, according to the accounting staff. We believe that we'll get a similar notice for the quarters ending March 2021, June 2021. And as of now, that situation has been corrected for future filings. So September of 21 should be okay. Mr. Garrick mentioned something about the school loan revolving fund. That's the fund that we borrow money from the state to make our debt payments. Okay, that application was not submitted. We were able to work through that in a timely manner. Hopefully, we will be borrowing again next May for the May payment. And the key here is as you transition and you're going to have at least one more big transition, okay, is that dialogue stays open and that you transmit back and forth the emails, okay? Both those emails were sent to the predecessors, and if they'd have been forwarded to us, we'd have been able to respond to that in a timely manner, okay? That's history. We'll get that squared away before we leave. But the key is just the communication component of it. And we're going to be okay with the school loan revolving fund, and the same with the payroll tax issue. Going forward, you're still going to have a problem for the last 2 quarters with the IRS. Any questions?
Yes, Madam President. For the two incidences here, the payroll taxes and the loan revolving, how often are both of those taxes, how often should they be reported, and how is that information communicated to the district in terms of when we should pay it? Is it a quarterly type thing, or is it
We do
monthly, or how do you,
quarterly
how
revenue.
often?
You're supposed to deposit the taxes every time there's a pay period.
So every pay period, which is
Yeah.
every 2 weeks,
And-
for the payroll taxes, correct?
Yes, for the payroll taxes. So that'd be the withholding taxes that they take out of people's checks. That
So
would
you're
be
speaking of
Medicare.
FICA?
FICA would be one too. Okay, and the Medicaid, or the Medicare part of FICA itself. Now, last year, and I don't know when it got lifted, but there was a pause because of COVID on FICA part of it. So I don't know whether that caused confusion. I really don't know. And I know this doesn't sound right, but I don't care because we got to correct it, all right? So I'm not sitting there running around trying to blame people. I just want to get it corrected. But they were telling me today when they briefed on it that it looks like that the April statement was not done correctly and the June was not done correctly.
So you were
Or
able
the
to
March statement was done in April. The June was done in July. So those statements, the submissions were not correct. Don't appear to be correct.
So you're currently saying we are in compliance now? You were able to do?
This September was the end of another quarter. That shouldn't happen again.
Okay. And yes, and pertaining to the loan revolving debt, how often is that?
Well, we
should be-
borrow from that. You borrow from that to make your principal and interest payments. And at some point in time, when your debt starts to wind down, you'll start paying back the state. Okay, right now you're in a borrowing position, and I believe we're going to be okay. Cash flow wise, it could be tight, but I think we're going to be okay. You will not be okay in May. Okay, so I already talked to Kathy Clark at Treasury. She's the one that runs it, and mentioned to her that as soon as we know who's going to be doing what, when and where, when we leave, we'll get some names to you with email addresses so that stuff just doesn't get goofed up. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Are there any other questions?
John.
Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Dixon.
That's it, Commissioner. Oh, you're welcome.
Next, unfinished business was the We Rise initiative, which has officially started, and Mr. McNatt signed the brochure, and that will be going out to building administrators in the middle school and the high school, so that our students can take advantage of that opportunity. Those students who would like to, and transportation is provided, and thank you, Ms. Linton, for bringing that to us again. Report of the board subcommittees, is there anything? Seeing none, under report of the board president, just a reminder, if you are attending MASB's annual leadership conference and you haven't registered, please contact Paula. And that is November 11th through the 14th. And FYI, that Troon Law Firm is holding a COVID workshop. What are the dates on that, Mr. McNatt? It's a half-day workshop at Schoolcraft College. And Sean said that he would like to attend that as he steps back into this role temporarily. COVID, it would benefit him to know the legal updates on that. It's a half-day workshop coming up. Is it this month or?
Yes, this month.
Yes, so that'll be half a day. Any board questions on that?
I guess my question is, Mr. McNatt is saying he wants to attend that. When is Dr. E coming back? We said it was 2 weeks. You said that this investigation had nothing to do, it was dealing with the finances and things of that nature. We put him off because of this. When can he come back so he can get these kids back, our students are missing their leader. This district is going, he needs to be back so he can work. He wants to come back and work and do his job.
Yes, Dr. Edmondson will be coming back when the investigation is over. Mr. Garrick spoke to that.
But you said the investigation had
The investigation is not over. So if this happens before he comes back, what is your question?
Technically, I'm trying to get myself together. It's because,
Okay, he is not suspended. He is not suspended.
Mr. Real asked the question about the presentation, if it had anything to do with the employee and any action items. You said no. Mr. G, I can't pronounce your name, I'm sorry. He started to speak. Mr. Real said, point of order, he's talking about things as to why Dr. Edmondson was put on administrative leave. You said it has nothing to do with that. So why can't he come back to work? Because a lot of that stuff that we're dealing with from the finances, when we go back and look at it, it was before him. He brought that to our attention. He brought it to our attention. And then, when he kept bringing things to us and said, okay, we're going to have to get a plan of correction going on here, and then things happened where he was, there was charges formed against him for Title IX. Then we're down this road. He brought this to us. Then if you really want to talk about finances, on February 22nd, I'm trying to find my paper, when we were getting ready to talk about the audit, the auditors were getting ready to present. We got an email asking that they not tell what the findings and corrections were because we were getting ready to do the operating millage. So why can't he come back?
Okay, so Ms. Wester, that email was sent by me asking what is involved in the presentation, because in the presentation, you can talk about your findings.
I saw your
and
email.
you can talk about more than that.
It's not your email.
That's why I brought that regarding the millage. But Dr. Edmondson, Dr. Edmondson is not on a disciplinary leave. And yes, Dr. Edmondson, when he first arrived in this district, brought the finance situation to our attention. Our audit, he is not suspended. Our audit was finished 3 months late with 12 or 14 findings. And currently today, we never received a plan to improve that. Those findings still exist.
Actually, we started getting that plan with Don Sovey, and nobody wanted to pay him.
Excuse me, Ms. Wester.
But
We did not have a plan to correct them because they still exist. And when Ms. Claire submitted her resignation, Dr. Edmondson informed, Mr. Hanson. Mr. Hanson. I hope when he forwarded us Jewel Claire's resignation, in spite of having all of those findings still exist, in spite of not having our journal entries and our bookkeeping done, he said that he had no plan to hire or post or fill the business position. So therefore, we need to find out this district and the sustainability of it and the survival of it is most important. He is not being disciplined. We are not investigating him. We are investigating our business office practices that are going to sink us.
I understand about the business office.
He is on paid administrative leave.
You don't have
so
to
that we can get this done.
But my question.
What was the motion on the floor?
My question goes back to, yes, he did state that. But he said, give me until I can come back in there on August the 2nd.
That's not what he said.
His intentions was to come in here
That's not what he said.
Okay, he may not have said it to you.
That's not what he said.
And if you read in between some of the things,
And I,
Miss Claire could still be here. But outside of that, she's gone and we are where we are now because of whatever. My question now
You have the
is,
date for your
we're paying a
you have the
consultant
date for your workshop,
$160 an hour.
next Tuesday, the 19th. Okay,
We're paying a consultant $160 an hour. We have another one at $110 an hour. When you look at their contracts, it's,
Okay.
Dixon's contract said as needed,
right.
plus we're paying expenses and lodging.
Okay, Ms. Wester, it is needed, we are in audit, and we do not have key financial positions
Okay,
filled. We
so
don't-
why can't we
Ms.
bring the
Wester,
superintendent
this
back?
right now, we were talking about the COVID workshop. So let's get back to that. Let's,
You
but,
still
and your,
not-
no, your comments just must be germane to what is on the floor. And I've listened, and we can come back to that.
You listen
But-
and you never answer, Debbie.
He is on, the motion was that he is on
No, you never
paid
listen.
leave until the investigation is complete.
Why?
So, next Tuesday, October 16th, there is a half-day COVID workshop for school administrators that Mr. McNatt would like to attend so that he can be up to date in the law. Ms.
Point of
Evans?
order.
Say, order, please. So, does the board, are there any concerns or comments about that?
There is a concern, Madam President.
Okay, I'm sorry. Order, please. I can't hear you, Mr. Ross.
My concern is this. We sat here and got pushback when Dr. Edmondson asked to go to the superintendent's conference. He is an employee here, and he asked to go to the superintendent's conference. We gave him pushback. The vote was 5-2. And I think what Ms. Wester is trying to present is Mr. McNatt here temporarily? And if so, with him being here temporarily, what is the purpose of the workshop?
Okay, Mr. McNatt is here temporarily, and the purpose of the workshop is, although Mr. McNatt has extensive experience as a superintendent, he does not have experience with COVID or the most recent law and what we're supposed to be abiding by. So, okay, order. Okay, so, well, I think just to cover ourselves, I'm going to make a motion to approve Mr. McNatt's half-day workshop on October 16th. Is there support? Madam Secretary?
Make sure Truman comes up on here then.
Kennard? Terrell? Wester? German?
I'm gonna say no.
Piles?
Yes.
Bergeron? Evans, yes.
Motion fails. Okay. Next, we have an action item for the consulting services agreement for Sandy Gutenschwager. When we voted on Dixon Public Consulting, in that contract, it was contingent upon contracting with her as well. And so it was believed that contracting with one was approval of the other, but I have learned that that is not the case. And although that was an honest mistake, it is a mistake, so that's why it is here before us tonight. So I move that the Board of Education approve the consulting services agreement for Sandy Gutenschwager to serve as an interim with business office responsibilities. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. And she has been working in this position and been invaluable. Again, our finance department had a lot of holes, and this is necessary to get us through audit and get us surviving. Are there questions or comments from board members?
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Terrell.
2 things.
Yes.
We had a person that was handling that. Ms. Claire was doing an awesome job. She had mentioned a couple of times that she wanted to come back. But she was pushed out. She was harassed, and she's indicated that. She was harassed, and she left the district, and that's why we're in that position. When Mr. Dixon presented that he would be working and someone would be assisting him, Sandy would be assisting him, he presented it as she's his employee.
Yeah.
That's how it was presented to us. And that her rate, he actually gave her rate of $120 an hour. So my question is, why are we moving from her being his employee to now having a contract with her individually?
Okay, so Ms. Terrell, actually, he did not state that, and if you...
He did say it in
Okay,
open meeting.
no.
He did.
If we look at the Dixon Public Consulting contract, it specifically states in there that the district would contract with her in a separate agreement, that she is not a subcontractor of
That's
district
the
public
problem.
consulting.
We weren't given a contract. Mr. Dixon was shoved down our throats before we even had an opportunity
No,
to
that
see a
contract was
contract.
sent.
And he made that statement
No,
that
that
she would be
contract-
working in conjunction. In this meeting, he did.
He said, yes, that she would be working in conjunction with him, absolutely, but not as his employee, and that's what the contract stated.
Madam President,
Yes.
whereas the board contracted with Dixon Public Consulting LLC to act as financial consultant, whereas the board has received reports that Mike Dixon and Sandy I can't pronounce her name, Sandy G, from Dixon Public Accounting LLC have been prevented from assessing. Be it resolved that all district employee personnel, including volunteer contractors, immediately fully cooperate with the request from Dixon, Ms. G, and any other individual from Dixon Public Consulting LLC. That makes it read that she's a part of Dixon LLC.
No, she is our contract is separate. Pull up his contract, Ms. Wester. Right, okay, because Ms. Wester, we thought that approving one was approving both, and have since learned that that wasn't the case. So are there other questions? Seeing none, Ms. Evans, will you call the roll, please?
Bergeron? No. Kennard? Wester? No. Terrell? Piles?
Yes.
German?
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Motion fails. Next is a request for closed session with Mr. Phil Clark. So I move that the Board of Education convene in closed session under Section 8D of the OMA to consider a purchase, lease of the Merriman property, with the opinion of Troon Law. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard, and this is for the purchase of a property.
What about communication with the public?
It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Are there any questions from board members? Seeing none.
Bergeron?
No.
Mr. Bergeron, we can't sell this property without it.
You know what? These people need to talk. I
Okay.
can't go home and go to sleep without knowing what's on there.
Okay, right, but Mr. Bergeron,
I'm telling you, we can move that agenda around, or that, so that they can talk, and then I'll stay here all night.
okay, but we have an attorney here too.
Pardon me?
We have an attorney here too, so if we don't go into closed session, we cannot sell this property. Okay? No, I'm just saying, this is not a long thing. This is so we can sell Merriman.
I'll move it to later on. I want everybody to be able to talk and not to stay here. Yes.
It was number 18, it was number 18 because Mr. Clark would be with us. It was 18 because Mr. Clark was with us, and we can do this and get it done quickly.
Oh, that's right, when you put our superintendent.
Go ahead, call the roll, Ms. Evans.
Kennard. Terrell. Terrell.
Yes.
Thank you. Lester. Closed session, yes or no? Closed session, yes or no?
And y'all kids eating well. Some of us might be on food stamps working 3 jobs. 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I got to work 3 jobs just to make ends meet to pay almost $800 in rent.
Thank you.
Y'all don't care about us.
No.
Who wants to come?
Do my job.
Okay.
Do your job.
Okay, order. I don't even know what that was about.
Kennard, you already voted, I'm sorry. Piles? Closed session?
Yes.
Evans, yes. German?
Yes.
Okay. So I did not hear the vote. Okay. Okay, hey, I'm sorry, Ms. Evans, I did not hear the vote.
Bergeron voted no. Kennard, yes. Terrell, yes. Wester, no. Piles, yes. Evans, yes. German, yes.
So it's 4-3
5-2.
for closed session? Okay.
Correct.
So we are in closed session at 7:32 PM. Ms. German and Mr. Clark, we will have to, please use the other link for the closed session, and we will just step in another room. Those of you joining us, this is not going to be a long session. I move that we reconvene in open session. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Terrell? Wester? Bergeron? Kennard? German?
Yes.
Evans, yes. Piles?
Yes, we are back in open session at 7:58 PM. I move that the Board of Education approve the rezoning application of Merriman after all the other criteria is met and the down payment of $65,000 is received by the district. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Terrell? Bergeron? Wester? German?
Yes.
Evans, yes. Piles?
Yes.
Kennard? Kennard, did you, thank you.
Motion carries. Next, we are at communications from the public. If there's anyone that has not submitted a form who would like to speak, please bring it to the front. Ms. Evans, will you please call the names?
Tyra Payne?
Good evening to the Romulus Board of Education. I just wanted to come here tonight to let you guys know that COVID did not kill human decency and human compassion. In everything we do, we're going to be held accountable for it. Everything we do, we're going to be held accountable for it. Now, I don't know all the details of what happened with our dear superintendent, Mr. Edmond. But one thing I can say is that I've been with this district a long time, and my coworkers is over there, and I don't miss a day's work unless I have to miss a day's work. And I've been here a long time. My husband died not too long ago. Devastated me. I'm still devastated. But you know who showed up? Dr. Edmond showed up at the wake. Dr. Edmond showed up at the funeral. And if there's any discrepancy in a credit card, guess what I got? Flowers. You know why I got flowers? Because I have served this district for a long time. And somebody had compassion for me and my family to come and support me. So no matter what happens, I will always be grateful for human compassion and not COVID. I hope that sink in. I hope that sink in. Because if you want to get rid of somebody because they gave some flowers to somebody who's grieving from their husband, who have supported this district, the kids, shame on you. I'm just saying. I just wanted to say that. And this is public. The world will see it. Everybody will know it. Dr. Edmond brought in a different type of spirit in this district. And what it was, let's get together and get this thing done. Some people don't want to do that. And it appears to be some of the people here on this board. Do you understand what I'm saying? And now I'm not angry. I don't want to speak angry. You guys need transparency. And I have a recommendation that everybody who sits on this board need to be here in the building when you guys have meetings. Now, I know people get sick. And you can't come. But they need to be here 90% of the time. I know we got these cameras and stuff like that. But it appears to me, I'm just saying, it appears to me that you guys have a separate agenda going on. You're not transparent at all. I'm just letting you know that, because if you sound like a duck, you move like a duck, you're a duck. And that's what's going on, and the people are angry. All we asking to be transparent. You see what I'm saying? Y'all got what you got. And that's all well and done. But guess what? You gonna be held accountable for the actions that you take, the decisions that you make, because it don't only affect you, it's affecting all these people out here, their lives, their families, and everything. And so this lady, Miss German, that's another thing I have to say. And I'm not being disrespectful to her or nothing. But if I work for Ford, I cannot sit on GM board because it's a conflict of interest. And I find that to be a conflict of interest for me, for her to work for another district as a principal and then sit on our board. No.
The time is up.
But you know what?
The time is up.
When you go home tonight, I want you to reconsider the decisions that you make, because you know what? It's a higher power. And guess what? And I'm not going to deny it's God. You're going to have to answer
You're right.
to.
And I will state that it is not a conflict of interest. Just on the record, I do want to state that it is not a conflict of interest for board members to work in another district. Ms. Evans.
Rita Hamilton, or I'm sorry, Hampton.
At September 13th board meeting, in my comments, I stated, I thought she said Hanson.
No, I said Rita Hampton.
I'll turn on my hearing aid.
Yeah.
My name is Rita Hampton. I live at 31775 Augusta Drive on the golf course. No, don't get like that. That's that Ann Arbor paycheck. And I'm retired after 35 years. I never saw so many people come across that golf course, and Dr. Ben was leading the way. People came out on their deck and say, "Who is that?" I said, "That is Dr. Ben." And he had all these people. Who does that? And that young lady, she's not kidding. He cares. Those flowers, I remember that. Who sent me? Dr. Ben was sick for 5 weeks, and the board did not send him a card or flowers. But hey, I have been watching those board meetings like they're Starsky and Hutch. They sent somebody lost their dad, but they sent them flowers. And there's other things, little things, but I'm not going to waste your time. She's not going to give in. She don't think she's doing anything wrong. But I remember I hurt my knee when I did that last time, trying to be dramatic. She's not. She's what you call a person who is adamant to have her in her way, like Burger King. So here we go. I submitted the papers for recall this morning. And that's all I'll say. I submitted them. Ms. Powers, you got to go. You're damaging this district. It has nothing to do with whether I like you or not. I can compartmentalize that. I can work with you. A whole bunch of times my students say, "I'm not doing Miss So-and-so's work because I don't like her." I said, it don't have nothing to do with that. You don't know who I don't like, but I got to work with them. And I can put that back in the side, like I didn't have sex with that woman. You can put it, he compartmentalized. And that's what I want you all to do. Help me. Because they kept asking me down at the county building. Help me. We only need 3,000 signatures per person. I got to go back and get Miss Kennard. Because I've never seen anyone so disengaged. I've never seen her before. I've been coming to the meetings and looking at the board meetings. But what did it for me was that last meeting. What a show. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And if you don't see you done wrong, then it might be you.
Look out now. Look out.
You're going to damage. I want Mr. Edmonds back. I want him back. right there. I want him back. He made a promise, 100 days plan to do his job. I want him back to keep that promise. You made him sign a check 5 to 6. Somebody told a lie. 5 to 1. Or 6 to 1, whatever it was. Somebody told a lie.
Ms. Hampton, that's time.
I want to know. I want him back to do that job he said he was going to do. He said he was going to turn this as destination education. I want to be on that bus. The board, as the leadership, the president, keep taking us to Woodstock. It's over. Woodstock is no longer here. Try something new. Now, I am Rita Paul. 734-754-1177. I need you to walk with me. Let's walk, like the Four Tops say, walk with me. Recall. Recall.
That's time. Next person, Jessica Reyes.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Jessica Race. I have been the band director here in Romulus Community Schools for 8 years, but I was a lifelong resident of the community, born and raised here, and graduated from Romulus Community Schools class of 2007. I came up and I spoke to you guys, it's probably a month ago now, about why are we doing this again, right? We've lived through this era. And I just want to bring up just 2 things that I heard here tonight that I want you to consider. First of all, thank you to Ms. Terrell, Ms. Wester, and Mr. Bergeron for your transparency this evening. That means an awful lot to us out in the audience. There were comments made tonight about our superintendent, about a lack of a plan in dealing with the finance department and fixing things, and time, how long he's been here. And I just want to say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And here's what I mean by that. So we sat here and we gave our board a pass tonight for this entire list of OMA violations and meeting minutes that were not posted because of people being out with health concerns and things like that. And for those of you that don't know, Dr. Edmondson spent part of the time out this summer dealing with his own health concerns and came back early to try and help us with these things, and was barely back for any time at all before all of this started happening. He did not have time to formulate a plan. And as a band director, I know this. I started in this program, and my numbers were very teeny tiny. And it took me 5 years to rebuild. It took them 3 years to destroy. It took me 5 years to rebuild. We're looking at 6 years, at least, since I've been here, of financial issues, and we expect Dr. Edmondson to have them figured out in a year, okay? Which is unrealistic for things that happened before he got here. The other thing that I want to bring up is during that conversation, it was mentioned that there's not an investigation on the person, just on the department. And everybody out here heard it, and when we tried to say something about it, it wasn't public comment at that point, but it is now, and we would all like our superintendent back. Thank you.
Sarah Carter.
Good evening, Sarah Carter, REA President. I'm here tonight to discuss the HR generalist position that has been mentioned at several board meetings. When this position was first discussed, all board members seemed very supportive of it. However, in recent weeks, Ms. German has voted against this position as indicated in the July 19th board minutes when all board members present voted for Ms. Hassan except for Ms. German, and I couldn't quite figure out why. But I was clued in when another board member mentioned at a meeting that a relative of Ms. German had applied for the position. So I submitted a FOIA request. And don't worry, I paid the $26.40 to Ms. Hazlitt. I have received the documents, and I think it's important to let my members and the community know that it was Ms. German's son that applied for this position. It was indicated in the application when asked, are you a relative of any board member, administrator, or supervisor who is currently serving any school district in the consortium? And he answered no. So obviously, Ms. Hazlett did the correct thing in not hiring him for this position. But it appears to me that this is when Ms. German started her vendetta against Dr. Edmondson and the central office staff. I'm not sure what surprised me the most, Ms. German, your son applying and lying on his application, or the fact that you are a public school principal serving on a public school board of education, but you sent your child to a charter school. Shameful.
Okay,
I question your ethics and integrity when you tried bringing in your boss, and I'm
Ms.
doing it
Carter.
again.
Ms.
Resign.
Carter.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. German.
may I speak?
No. Point of order. Stop. Order.
Point of order.
No. No. But you know what? That was false. No. No. Wait, no.
Joseph Hester.
Ms. German, you will have public comment, board member comments at the end. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I would like to say hello to everybody. I am only a bus driver, and I don't get into your little petty politics. I am shocked that a city the size of Romulus is so filled with politics. But just let me talk about what I've noticed in the last couple of years. Because see, as a bus driver, you watch and observe what's happening in the community with the kids. Now, since Dr. Edmondson came along, I've noticed things are beginning to change. What did I notice? There's an attitude change among people. That's right. Then I know there's a behavior change among the citizens. And when you get those two changes, you start noticing physical change. The building look cleaner. People look happier. Things are going in the right direction. I even start selling Romulus to people by telling them that, boy, you need to put your kids in Romulus school system because that system is coming up. But look what we got here. I'm telling you, folks, this is a mess. It's absolutely a mess. I cannot believe what I see here. And when someone say that there's no conflict of interest, look, I was a Domino's franchise for 20 years. Do you think I could get on Little Caesar's board of directors? I don't think so. It's a conflict of interest. And anybody don't think that that's a conflict of interest? There's a problem someplace, folks. And you need to examine that. And you guys need to get this house together. I mean, I'm still a driver. I enjoy driving. I enjoy the kids. We are here for the kids. Dr. Edmondson said to us, and he impressed me, he said he was for the kids. Now, if you guys not for the kids, you guys need to take a walk. Because that's what this is all about. We work like dogs as bus drivers. We get cursed out, we get called names, we get all kinds of stuff happen to us. And we put up with it. Do you guys appreciate us?
Tim Sherwood.
Say that again. Oh.
My name is Tim Sherwood. I'm a Romulus resident. This is really embarrassing, what I see taking place, and it seems like it's like a dog chasing its tail. It continues to happen for no reason. When Dr. Edmondson got here, I thought the district was making progress. Students, parents, and teachers were experiencing hope that change was finally happening, and that was going to make the district move forward. What I see now is a lot of people with hidden agendas and egos. We need to set our egos aside for the sake of the kids in this community. What I'm seeing is happening is the look of the last public meeting was embarrassing, to say the least, and did not put our district in a good light at all. As my family watched, we were mortified. My son, who graduated in 2021, just told me that this is just unbelievable. He just could not believe it. But according to the Romulus Community School bylaws and policies, Board approved 125-2021 and updated 2/2/2021. Under Ethics on page 4, item 6 states, I will encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and will participate in board discussions in an open, honest, and respectful manner, honoring differences of opinion or perspective. The open, honest, and respective discussion happen with every single board member in the same room at the same time prior to the school board meeting on 9/27/2021? No. Because it sure didn't look like it. It was definitely a sham job done behind closed doors. It reminds me of an old AC/DC song, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. You guys already had a plan in motion with the resolution and an interim superintendent already in place, ready to go. You already had your 4 votes because you talked about it earlier. Sue Evans made a motion for a resolution asking for support without revealing what the motion was for. How can you expect support if board members don't know what they are supporting, unless that motion was discussed prior to meeting with the 4 votes that were seemingly already predetermined? And then support was not verbalized right away. There was lots of confusion, paper shuffling, so unorganized. You guys look like a joke. There was chaos. Chaos transpired from there. According to the meeting when Ms. Evans was repeating the motion for the second virtual members who had no technical difficulties until the very end, she stated the base on the findings of the audits was a reason for putting Dr. Edmondson on leave. Going back through my personal emails, our welcome letter as new superintendent was dated 8/19/2020. How can there be held accountable for a time when he wasn't employed by our district? These financial issues have been going on a long, long time. And it's going to take everybody to come together to make it right. He should not be the scapegoat for all these decisions and all these things that have been going on for a very long time. I feel that our school district is taking backward steps to where our central office people are leaving and resigning. Also, many teachers are still leaving along with families and students. At one time, I felt that we were moving in a positive direction, but I no longer feel that way in light of what's been happening. The school district is not showing any stability to where families feel they can trust having their children grow and learn here in Romulus, in this community. We look like a circus. We're becoming a laughingstock, and it seems to always revolve around the school board. All I ask is that you take the time to think about who we're affecting here. These are the children. Look at what we're doing to us. We're going backwards. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Twenice Jones. Doris Green.
Good afternoon, Board. Doris Green, 6065 Essex, lifetime Romulus resident. Mom retired from the school board. Daddy worked in plumbing. You know me, Pete, Ursula. the rest of you guys. My concern and only concern is my children. As you guys know, I partake in everything around here, and I try and support every decision that you guys make. When you come to us for funds, I'm the first one down on camera trying to solicit funds for you guys. Pass the millage, pass the millage, pass this. What I'm seeing here tonight and what I saw last week and what I've been seeing since April is a bunch of BS, flat out. You guys are sabotaging our district by your personal effects for whomever you dislike in the district. Regardless of who he is or what he's done, he gave you guys a 100-day program in which, prior to you guys even hiring him, you guys voted, oh, we're going to love him, we're going to love him. When one issue went in April, and if you guys don't believe me, you look and go research from the time that man started up until his last meeting in March. You go research it. That's when they turned the tide on him for whoever he made mad. Whoever he made mad. This is not the time, especially now, being that you are all new and we're moving forward. This is not the time to make rash and irrational decisions. What you guys ought to do is sit back, go back into what you did. First of all, if I was Dr. Edmondson, I'd be back on my job because you were out of order when you did your motion. You had a motion on the floor to recess, and the motion was never satisfied. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, anything that comes behind a non-satisfied motion is still on the floor, is null and void. So first off, you need to check your records. Then secondly, you need to bring him back because all these people out here are demanding him back. And then thirdly, you ain't got to worry about resigning. We're going to walk the streets and get you out. Thank you.
Hanson. Hanson.
All right, I'll try this again. All right, let's do it. So, September 13th, at the board meeting, I said that Dr. E leaving and Ms. Haslett leaving was a red line. You successfully, gang of four, you guys know who you are, chased off Ms. Haslett. Because of this, I'm going to address my comments for them to you guys. Because Ms. Piles, she turns her back on us. We need to turn our back on her. Okay. All right. Before I get into things, I really truly believe in this. I don't have to like Dr. Benjamin Edmondson. Amen. I don't have to like what he says, but I'm going to tell you, I believe in him. That's right. And that's more important. Yeah. When he gave us his vision, it was a clear vision, and unlike the forked tongues that we get from up here, he walked the walk. He walked. Okay? He doesn't make empty promises like, oh, Mr. Edmondson, we want you here. We want to keep you here, rubbing his arm. Yeah. Okay? And then in the next minute, you didn't fingerprint. You added things to the agenda. You got to be punished. Right. Yeah. And that's what they did. Come on. Forked tongue. Yeah. So, in the last board meeting, it was discussed about the financial audit due by November 1st. This audit has always existed. It was always due November 1st. Last year, it was not done. Was that Dr. Edmondson's fault? No. It was not his fault. It was your friend's fault. Look out. It was your friend's fault. And you went and you stuck up for her, and now I'm sure, people, that this is why she's on her witch hunt. Wow. In another defining moment, it was the gang of four began to solidify. Look out. It was when all the contracts for the unions of this district had been settled before time was due. She didn't think that could happen. Right. She was counting against it. Come on. And she chose it wasn't until then that she decided she would pass our contracts. And for the first time in Romulus history, all unions had their contracts settled before they expired. Okay, and that was Dr. Edmondson. Dr. Edmondson said, day one, that's what he was going to do. He said that. He walked the walk, he talks the talk. He does not have snake tongue. There are things that the community needs to do. You guys need to step up. You know, if I could, I would do it because I really care about this district. If you don't know me on the side, I do go into tears when I think about what's going on here. It saddens me. And only here, it comes up that I'm angry. Okay? But when I go home, I'm in tears because I have a lot of faith in this district. Okay? You guys need to look into her secret attorney. You guys need to FOIA and find out how much he's paying. I bet it's worth 2 teachers. I bet you we could replace what she's paying for them with 2 teachers. I don't know.
Next
It's gotta be
person.
FOIA.
Who's next?
Darcel Davis.
So, yeah, you guys weren't cutting off before. The guy from Traverse City.
Mr. Hanson,
you
I
guys
gave
should
you
FOIA
extra
that
time.
as well. They're paying for his mileage, they're paying for his housing, and they're paying him to be here. And, you know, we got how many millions of people around here? We can't find anybody around here to employ. We got to go to Traverse City. Go ahead. Bang your name tag, then I'll stop. Okay.
Who's next, Ms. Evans?
Mr. Davis.
I'm not done yet.
Darcel Davis.
Yes, your time is up.
I'm
your
telling
time
you,
is up.
I'm telling you, the 4 of you need to resign. Miss Piles, you need to resign. Miss Evans, you need to resign. Miss Kennard, it's nice seeing you, hon. You need to resign. Miss German, you and your shadiness, goodbye, go. We will not recognize any leader you putting forth until Dr. Edmondson's brought back. So you can destroy us as much as you are. We want Edmondson back. We want you guys gone. Thank you guys for your support.
Mr. Davis. Darcel Davis.
Good evening. I just have one request. Ms. Piles, Ms. Kennard, can you please close your laptops because I want you to hear me. I should be at home right now doing my college homework, but instead I'm here because I have some issues with what's going on, and I want you to listen to me as someone who was a student just last year. I've only left high school 4 to 5 months ago, graduating as valedictorian, and I know that this board is not setting a good example for students. They expect students to come to class on time, and here instead you start 10 minutes late. They expect us to do our work and turn it in a timely fashion, even when we're sick. Instead, your meeting minutes are still not posted since August. They expect us to be collaborative and work with our fellow students, but you all argue worse than middle schoolers. Then the biggest issue I have is with the post on the website entitled Superintendent. This quote says, "Out of respect for all involved, we ask that you talk to your student and encourage him to stay focused at school on their classwork and learning." My interpretation of that is that you don't want them to stay informed with the state of this district. Once we become voters, we have the right to vote on school board members, and I don't see a good reason to vote for some of you if you decide on re-election next time. Moving on. Instead of hiring people to give support to the people you already have in central office, you drive those people away from this district and instead take in consultants and pay them a lot more money to fix these issues that should have been fixed years ago. And these things shouldn't have been a problem in the first place. Why are you investigating the financial and business practices now instead of before, when it has already been brought to your attention? And even before then, because that has been a problem for years now. You placed Dr. Edmondson on leave for these issues, expecting them to be fixed in the year that he's been here. Years of issues cannot be fixed overnight. Like that, especially when you're not allowing him to do his job without breathing down his neck. Go ahead now. I volunteer with the marching band and have seen him come in and offer his support to the students. He came in and listened to their opinions and concerns. He's had discussions with our band director and collaborated with her. He's shown up more times in the band room than I've seen previous superintendents. He wants to help this district, and he has shown me that he wants to help. Bring him back and allow him to do his job so this district doesn't sing, because obviously you don't care about it. Your personal issues with other people don't take priority over our students. Dr. Edmondson cares about them. You haven't shown us that this board cares about the students, and maybe this board needs to be placed on leave too. Thank you.
Penny Gray. Ms. Gray? Thank you.
That's it.
No, I filled out a thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bales. Go ahead, Ms. Bales.
Okay. Number one, I'm very, very disappointed. Debbie, you know how much I love the schools. Worked for the schools for 32 years. My children all graduated from Rama schools. Thank you. I appreciate you bus drivers. I appreciate all of the employees at Romulus Community Schools. I came to you and asked you respectfully, could I please address things as you discussed them at the agenda? When I rose my hand, you totally ignored me. I deserve more respect than that, Debbie. I have loved and worked my rear off for this community. I love this community. I have questions, and I would like you to answer them for me. First of all, you're Sandra P. Sorry, Local 4. Sandra P. How much, do you have a cap on her pay, and how much is she getting paid? That was not in your motion at all, and I think the taxpayers are entitled to that information. Marie Miller is another one. You said general fund. At one time, we heard $100 an hour, then we heard $1,500 a day. Which is it? Is there a cap on it? Because I know some of you were upset about the number of money she got before. She's very highly respected in this state and has connections in the state.
Right, so Marie Miller.
Is she going to get $100 an hour, $1,500 a day?
Her previous rate was $1,500 a day.
What is it now?
Under the new contract, it is $150 an hour, I believe.
$150 an hour. Okay, and is there a cap?
There is not.
There is not a cap. It's forever?
No, it's not.
Okay, if we could get that at some point, it would be nice. Also, what about Sandra P.?
Sandra
rate of
P.,
pay?
I believe her rate of pay is $100 an hour, but I'm looking for that.
Do we have a contract for her?
We do, we approved it tonight.
So I could for you all these contracts, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now Sandy G., I need to know, Sandy G., is she no longer working for us? I thought it was voted on 5-2 or something that you weren't going to pay her. Or because she hadn't been approved originally in Mr. Dixon's contract, is that true?
Right, we thought that.
She's no longer working for us, she's done, gone?
Well, as of tonight, that was the vote.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my facts together here, so I have them together, because I'm going to be for you in some information. One of the things I want to just tell the board about is years ago, they used to always have community involved on their committees. I served on many committees, and so did my husband, as parents. I think it would behoove you to bring somebody to serve on your finance committee, to serve, so that we have a true assessment of what is going on. This is not confidential information. I cannot get from anybody. We had a meeting with Mr. Dixon last week. I cannot find, the way I am hearing it, we're solvent and we're gonna be very solvent in July. I talked to Mrs. Piles and Mrs. Piles tells me we're going down the tubes. I don't know. And how many times have you seen me come here and ask that question? And nobody answers me. Nobody. And all I can say is, you guys had an opportunity to keep Dr. Sovey. I was told he had a plan. You should be following his plan. If you did not like the fact that you had paid him $50,000, I believe if we had kept him on the payroll, we wouldn't even be here tonight. None of us. We wouldn't have this problem. So I'm begging you, please, for the children and the sake of this community and the school district, please be responsible and do something for us. Please. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, do you have any comments that have come in to the Google form?
There's one from actually last week, so I'd like to read it. From Jay Smith, 4 questions. How much district funds have been spent on lawyer fees since August 1st, 2021? Was there a meeting of 2 or more Ramos Board of Education members in regards to a motion to suspend the superintendent prior to the 6 p.m. Ramos Board of Education meeting on 9/27/2021? If so, when did this occur and who was present? How was an interim superintendent chosen prior to the passage of the motion to suspend the superintendent? Did the board meet with Sean McNatt prior to this motion? Who was present for the meeting with the law firm Clark Hill PLC in regards to the drafting of the motion to suspend the superintendent?
Thank you. Ms. Evett. Is that another public comment?
David?
I was trying to find the contract. Go ahead. I can't find it.
Good evening, everybody. I debated on speaking tonight because I'm only in my 4th year here at Romulus Schools. But after hearing everything all these people had to say, I had to speak, but not as a staff member, but as a parent. Because this is my 4th year here, and I've watched what Dr. E has done over the last year, that I brought my 4 children to this district. Because I was proud of what he was doing for this district. And not only my 4 children, they were foster children. So they were actually wards of the state. So I brought the state's children to Romulus Community Schools because I was proud of the direction that our superintendent was bringing it. I watched the meeting 2 weeks ago and went, what did I do to my kids? I brought them to this board. I brought them to you guys. I trusted all of you with not only my children, the state's children. And this is the thank you that we get. Maybe I got to rethink my decision if you don't rethink yours.
Thank you. Okay. No, I'm doing a board member comment. No, I'm doing board member comment. Okay. Do we have communications from board members? Ms. German, are you still with us?
I am. I have nothing to say.
Okay. Ms. Terrell?
The question has been asked, when is Dr. Edmondson coming back? We have not got an answer for that. The question has been asked since it's been indicated that he was not suspended because of the funds, or he's not, it's not being disciplined. why is he not being able to come back? That's my question. That's my question. I want to know, when will he be able to come back? And since it's not that he's being disciplined, I don't understand why he's not here. I don't understand. And I would like, if possible, that you would explain that. When is he coming back? What date is he coming back? And if it's understood that he is not the cause of where we are today. He's not. He has acted, been transparent, talked about what's going on with the full board, expressed his concern about the finances as far back before we got out. The fact that there's things that have not been addressed is basically because we haven't allowed him to. He was back one day from open heart surgery, one day, and then we brought in this action, Dixon, not allowing him. When I read the email that Dr. Edmondson sent out, it wasn't that he was not going to hire anyone. It was that it's a matter to be addressed. He tried to address it before, and we had some conflict as to the amount of money that could be spent on getting this district in shape. We limited his ability to carry out his job as a superintendent. And so my question is, why can't he come back? Why can't he come back and be back in the building on tomorrow and get busy with running the district?
Thank you. Okay, so to answer your question, the resolution was that Dr. Edmondson would be placed on paid administrative leave, not a suspension, not a disciplinary act, pending the results of the investigation. The reason for the investigation is because, and again, it is investigation of our business office practices. We had 14 material findings in the last audit. That was not his fault. That was not. He came in and he recognized problems in the finance department, as he shared with us. We had 14 findings in that audit, and it was 3 months late. Here we are a year later, and the pre-audit showed that 12 of those 14 still exist, in spite of bringing in experts, in spite of bringing in an interim finance director, they still exist. So as we are finding out that we are not even prepared for an audit, we are not prepared for an audit because of our finance records are not there. And our financial consultant had concerns, our auditor had concerns. And therefore, the recommendation of our consultant was to do an independent investigation.
He was not allowed to do his job. This is not right, Debbie.
So people think that 4 board members had the resolution. They did not.
They did.
They did not.
We did not have that board. That resolution was not shared with the entire board.
Ms. Evans had made copies for the whole board. Her papers were disheveled before the meeting. However, the finance chair, Mr. Dixon,
you already had a superintendent picked out. You already had the person who was going to do the audit picked out.
Point of order.
Okay.
Point of order.
Point of order is right now.
Point of order.
I can explain it, but if people don't want to hear it.
Madam President was speaking, and you should continue, and if there's any questions after that, then that opportunity should be presented, okay?
So, Mr. Dixon
talking
okay. Do you want to know?
What I want is that Dr. Edmondson come back. That's what I want.
Okay.
He was limited on what he could do by this board.
Okay.
We had a plan in place. He was limited by this board.
We didn't have a plan. We have 14 material findings.
We had Dr. Sobey in here working. We had a plan. There was a cap placed on him that he could not continue to work.
Dr. Edmondson did not want Mr. Sobey to continue.
That is not true. We have emails that show just contrary to that. We have
Okay.
emails that are contrary to that.
Motion to adjourn.
You cannot motion to adjourn.
Yes, you can, because you don't want to hear the truth. You don't
Other
want,
board members have
you don't want to hear the truth.
Other board members have comments. You cannot motion to
Okay, you don't want to hear the truth. I'm
You're
trying
not
to tell
telling
you the truth.
You are not telling the truth.
Yes, nobody had the resolution until that day when it was drafted by council after finding out how bad the finances were, finding out the concerns. Again, this is not against Dr. Edmondson. This is about our
He
practices.
should be here.
This is, okay.
He should be
Do
working
you have
in
board
his
members,
job.
do you have comments?
He should be here.
I yield the floor. Do you have
He should be
comments?
here.
You were making comments, and he's not here to defend the comments that you're making. You're making comments, and he's not here to defend the comments that you're making.
I'm not making comments about
Yes, you
Dr.
are.
Edmondson. I'm
You just
making
did.
comments
You said
about
Dr.
our,
Edmondson
I'm making
didn't want it.
comments about our finance department.
You just said Dr. Edmondson didn't want it. Don't comment.
He didn't want Don
Yeah,
Solvin.
you know it is. You cannot do
Okay.
that.
Okay, Ms. Wester, do you have comments?
On a different note first, the community did lose Lynn Sears, so I want to send prayers and condolences out to her family. Longtime resident, athletic and band booster, always worked with the volleyball team, so just to keep her family uplifted during this hard time. I make a motion that we bring Dr. Edmondson back.
You have to amend the agenda.
My motion. Support. My motion is based on the fact that this financial audit or forensic audit can actually be done with the superintendent here and not question him like they're not questioning any other employees.
Ms. Wester, you'll have to make a motion to amend the agenda.
I make a motion to amend the agenda.
Is there support?
Support.
Now I
Madam
make the
Secretary.
motion that we bring Dr. Benjamin Edmondson back. We need
I'm
our
sorry,
leader.
like-
There's a motion on the floor, Mr. President.
Okay.
There's a motion in the House.
Mr. Green, I know there's a motion, but there is a question as to whether motions can be brought during board member comments. Mr. Garrick, are we okay to continue?
I think you appropriately asked to amend the agenda, and you need a vote a two-thirds vote to
Yes.
amend the agenda at this point.
Thank you. So there's a motion on the floor to amend the agenda. Madam Secretary, will you please? I'm sorry, it was moved by Wester, supported by Terrell.
Kennard? No. Evans, no. Bergeron? Yes. Terrell?
Yes.
German?
No.
Wester?
Absolutely yes.
I need. Piles, no.
I'm sorry, Piles.
Motion failed.
Wow. So it's more than just financial, right?
Mr. Bergeron, do you have any board member comments? Do you have any board member comments? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary.
Wester? Terrell? Kennard? Yes. German?
Yes.
German, do you vote to adjourn?
Yes.
Bergeron, yes.
He's a yes.
German?
Yes.
Terrell? Wester? Piles?
Yes.
Evans, yes.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:53.